we will take you to one of the temples in Egypt. It's called Montu Temple. It is right here behind me. This is actually the site of Montu Temple. Right now, more and more Chinese people, Chinese tourists, come abroad, and more Chinese tourists choose Egypt as their tourist destination. They have a lot of options if they want to visit ancient Egypt temples, but I doubt any of them has ever been here. The reason why we take all of you here is that soon, a first China-Egypt archaeological program will be launched here. This project is the result of a long-time negotiation between China and Egypt. And finally, today, we can witness the opening of this project. You might have a lot of questions when you see the topic of our live streaming. You might wonder, where is Montu Temple, what it is like, and what is this first joint archaeological project is about. Our viewers are also asking, what can our archaeologists find here? Today, we will take you closer to our archaeologists, and they will explain to us more about this project and more about Montu Temple. Today, we are very glad to have with us one of the first member to come here to this Montu Temple as part of the archaeology team. This is the leader, Mr. Jiang Xiaobing. He focused on prehistorical archaeology, and this is Mr. Gao Wei, also a member of the archaeological team, one of the 4 members of the team. And his major is archaeology in Egypt. This is Mr. Cao Huiqi. And he focused on the on Xia and Shang dynasty. And Mr. Wen Zheng here he is specialized in the archaeology of Mid-Asia. They are a very strong team and capable team to come here to bring us, hopefully, more Egyptian archaeology findings. They will take us closer to this temple. And people may raise the question, what is Montu Temple? Because this is quite an unfamiliar name to most of our viewers, I guess. So can you tell us more about this temple? What are the stories behind this temple? Temples are important to ancient Egyptian cultures. So what kind of goddess is enshrined in this temple? The Montu Temple enshrined the god of war called Montu. And it was first built in the Luxor area of Thebes. Chinese tourists, when they come here, may wonder why they haven't they have never come across with this temple. Actually, in the 1930s and 40s, they did some initial excavation, but no other research or excavation was done since then. So this is actually an enclosed area ever since. So if I'm understanding this correctly, from 1940s till today, it was enclosed area. So tourists were not allowed to come here. It is a well-known place, however, it's not open to the public. So very few tourists can have a chance to come here. This should be the gate of the temple, with a lot of carvings and sculptures and reliefs on it. So this is a temple enshrining the god of war. We can take a look at this gate. This is the northern gate of the Montu Temple. Beside this gate, there is the Sphinx path, and there used to be a river flowing past. This is a common feature by all of the temples. The sculptures of gods or goddesses inside these temples are actually mobile. They will be moved from one place to another, one temple to another, on important days or festivals. So these rivers that I mentioned is to facilitate the moving of these sculptures. We can see some carvings and which engraved the time and event, and also important sacrificing events. On this gate, they have depiction of the god of Montu receiving envoys of the Ptolemy dynasty. I don't know if I can see this clearly. The appearance of Montu is he has a head like an eagle. Can you point to the exact location of this temple? I think it's on the second to the most bottom layer. You can see there are two feathers. And below it is two plates in the shape of suns. But this is actually different than your traditional appearance of Montu, the god of Montu, because it combines the god of Ammon in it. So they combined the images of these two gods, forming a new image known as Amala Montu, which is also known as a kind of god that is related to suns, or so sounds quite complex. Not only for you, but also for experts. And we are trying our best to figure out who's who and the relations between these gods. In ancient Egyptian culture, is it true that only one god is enshrined in one temple? Actually, no. Here you can see there are a lot of blocks, a lot of bricks. They used to be the main body of the temple. And that would be the place to enshrine the main god, as we call it here. But behind it, there will be some smaller temples enshrining other gods. So on top of the old Montu site, it also has some other site of the temples. So are we allowed to come closer? This is the northern, this is the southern wall of the temple. It faces the south, and this is the back wall of the temple. It faces the north, and we are looking at the southern part of the temple. Right now, it's not possible for us to come any closer because this is a protected area, and right now it's still enclosed, and we cannot come closer. This is actually quite a big precinct. Not only can we see the relic of the Montu Temple, but also in this complex, we can see a lot of gates and some affiliated smaller temples. So how much is the area of this relic? It's about 160 meters multiplied by 160 meters. It's about 30,000 square meters. So on these walls, we can see some writings, some engravings. So, do we know the meaning of these writings? Have you been successfully interpreting this? Yes, actually. One of the French archaeologists, who is a very proficient in multiple languages, so he worked with some of the fellow scholars to decipher the Egyptian writings, Egyptian languages. On these walls, right now we can only see one color, but there used to be very colorful painting. So these writings are the description when the pharaohs are paying their tribute to the gods. They're doing some worshipping ceremony to worship the gods. We can see some small traces of colors on this wall. We can actually see this color because Egypt has a special natural environment. It dates back all the way to 2,000 to 3,000 years ago. So many years have passed by, but we can still see these traces quite clear and now presenting themselves to the outside world. On the left-hand side, you can see that's the pharaoh, and he is paying tribute to one of the gods. That is a pharaoh, and that is God. This is the god of Malat. This is actually the exterior of another temple behind this Montu Temple. Marat have the image of a woman, and it has a very long feather on her head.
好的，那么现在相信观众朋友们啊，在这个经过这个简单的这样一个可以说是对神庙这个进行了解还有查看之后啊，对这个孟图神庙
Once we know more about this Montu Temple,
那么接下来呢？
I think we have better knowledge of the related ancient Egyptian culture. You might wonder, this is such an important historical relic, and it is also the first time for a Chinese archaeological team to come to Egypt and be part of this excavation and research. So why do you choose Montu Temple as your first destination? The reason why we made this choice is because the culture of Tibis, and Tibis used to be the capital of Western cultures, and it's the center of the Western world. And it's so important for us to know Tibis in order to decipher the ancient Egyptian culture. That's why we choose Luxor. In Luxor, there are a lot of similar temples, but the reason why we choose Montu is that, first of all, after some simple excavation in 1930s and 40s, no other work was done since, have been done since. So there are still a lot of room for development. I believe that as an archaeologist, it's really exciting because we can have a lot of breakthroughs. And another reason is that the Tibis is the god of war is a very important god in the precinct of Tibis. I think that to know more about the culture in this respect can help us to learn a lot about the ancient Egyptian culture. We are also choosing a particular time. This relic dates back to about 3,000 years ago when China is in Xia and Shang dynasty. I think at that time, through our work, we can know more about, for example, Chinese civilization's location and were there any connections between Chinese civilization and Egyptian culture. This kind of comparative study is of crucial importance, and it's quite meaningful, I think.
其实就是关于考古队之后在这边会有怎样的一个工作方式，或者说是最终要达成的。
Our team will be doing a lot of work. So what are your objectives for your work? Our audience may wonder. So can you tell us more? Also, could you please tell us the meaning, the significance of your work here? Because people may have very limited understanding about archaeology. They will think it's all about digging things, digging out old stuff. But we know it's far more than that. So can you tell us more about it? And what exactly is your plan here besides the Montu Temple? As my colleagues mentioned, this is our first time here, and this place did not see any kind of exploration or excavation for as long as 70 years. So what we do right now is to first clean the site. And just to clear the site in order to know what we are dealing with and what's beneath all of this very thick dust. So, do you have like an expectation of what's below this layer of dust? Well, to be honest, this is too soon to tell. We are also here for the first time. I think there are all kinds of stuff, and that's actually the beauty of archaeology. You will never know what you'll find today or tomorrow. You just do your work and try to uncover the secrets little by little. So hopefully more people can follow up our work, and we will tell you what we have found. We also have a WeChat account, so welcome to follow us. We are also very excited to know, to expect of what we will be finding here. We are also excited to know, and we are very curious about your work, about your daily work here, actually. We have a Chinese team. That is the 4 of us, and we also have Egyptian colleagues to join us in this project. It's about a group of about 10 people. And the Egyptian side will also send over supervisors as a third party to monitor our work and also to provide consultancy when we are in need. So that's the way we work. On a daily basis, we start our work at about 7 a.m. and end our work at about 1 p.m. because the weather in the afternoon will be very hot, so we'll stay indoor for the afternoon and do some study. The Luxor area of Egypt is at the Upper Egypt area. This is one of the driest and hottest area in the world. Right now, it's already the November and it's winter back in China. However, from about 10 o'clock in the morning to the afternoon, the average temperature will be about around 35 degrees Celsius. So it's really a daunting task if we want to do a lot of archaeological work here. So most of the work will be done in the morning. One follow-up question. So the objectives of your mission is not only about digging out things, right? You also want to know what it used to be look like. Yes, that's true. Excavation is only part of our work. The most important objectives of our work are to, first of all, know more about this surrounding area of Montu Temple. We want to know more about the division of the precinct. This is also a collapsed relic, similar to what you see if you come to Egypt, the other temples. But there are also some of the temples that have been already restored. And this kind of restoration is done on the basis of the research of the scientists like us. Therefore, after our archaeological work, hopefully in the future, we can just recreate the appearance or the facade of these temples. This is based on the result of our excavation and some historical records. We can just it's like making up a mosaic, playing with mosaic. You're trying to put all of these pieces together to form a whole picture. On this side, we can see a lot of bricks, very heavy, I think, boulders. These are the work of some of our French colleagues before, because they consider that these are likely to be the mosaic pieces, so that they will place all of these bricks here. Later, they planned to invite some language experts here to decipher these languages. This is really a gigantic project. You do not have any blueprint, and this is actually much more difficult than mosaic. On the cover of mosaic, you can at least see what you're supposed to do, but this is totally clueless. These are very precious bearings and engravings of history.
然后类似这样的工作也会是我们中国考古队在接下来一段时间内的一个主要工作，是吧？
Work like this will also be a focus of the Chinese team. Unlike any other Asian civilization, the Egyptian civilization is known for its writings. So you have to be able to read their languages first in order to put the pieces together. These pieces would also have to go through the study and research of language experts, Asian language experts. This is an important part to our work. Think it is similar to the bone writings of China, and we write a lot of characters on the back of the turtles and on bones. They are quite similar.
So, 关于这个项目，我们之前了解到，这个项目实际上历时会比较长久，至少是在5年，是吗？
This project is right now scheduled at 5 years, right? Yes, that's only the first term. Our agreement is scheduled at 5 years, but excavation of this kind of scale would take far more than 5 years. So it's possible for us to sign some agreement after 5 years to carry out this kind of cooperation. So we want to make this a long-term project, using our advantage and theirs, and combine our synergy to make this work. And hopefully more archaeology institutions can come here and to help us with the work. Another question for all of you. It is fair to say that this joint mission has given us an opportunity to play to our strength here in Egypt. China is quite experienced in terms of the excavation of palaces with very complicated structures. So, what do you think are the advantages that can be used in this mission? You actually have hit 2 important highlights of our mission. First is that we have a rich experience to excavate the relics. It dates back all the way to 8,000 or 9,000 years ago, and then the relic of the Shang dynasty with very complex palace structures. In remote areas of China, we also found relics of stone cities or stone palace, which is quite similar to this. We already have a very matured methodology that can be readily applied here in this mission. In Egypt, they also have scholars and experts in this regard, but sometimes they're lacking knowledge and methodology. That's also what we are doing here mainly. Also, we can use new technologies such as 3D simulation and area shot. We can also use 3D scanning and high precision photography so as to construct a 3D model first before we really go in. We can just make a 3D simulation of each of these pieces. Therefore, we can study each phase of these bricks without having to lift them up. We can just do a simulation of the mosaic. That will help us a lot in the future restoration and recreation of the Montu Temple. I believe that right now you have a much better knowledge of the Montu Temple and our Chinese-Egyptian joint archaeological project. Before we end today's live stream, we would really like to raise another question to all of you. You have different specialties, as we introduced. So can you tell us more about your expectations, especially combine your expectations with your expertise? I specialize in prehistorical archaeology, so there are a lot of methodology that can be applied here. So our concept, our methodology can hopefully be applied here, but we'll still have to see whether they will work and whether it's useful to find more information. So it's actually a test out of our Chinese methodology of archaeology. I think that's something that I will be very interested to look at. Mr. Gao? I specialize in Egyptian archaeology, but this is my first on-field mission. So I have done a lot of research before I came here and study some of the historical records of Montu Temple. Besides, I also work with Egyptian colleagues. Hopefully, I can gain a lot of experiences this time. Mr. Wen, I specialize in Mid-Asia archaeology. I want to take another perspective into the archaeology cause because the situation of Asia and Africa is different. The ancient Egyptian civilization is, of course, one of the 4 greatest ancient civilizations in the world. So hopefully I can gain some new perspectives that can help me in my future work, whether in China or in other places of the world. Mr. Cao, I specialize in palace archaeology. I think this place is very similar to most of the Chinese palaces, but it also have a lot of difference. But there are still a lot of question marks. For example, the headings of the temple, and also we Chinese have different understandings about the stars and interpretations of the horoscope. We can discover the reasons behind it, hopefully, through our work here. So we are hoping to decipher and answer these questions. Thank you so much for being with us today. That was quite insightful and informative. I wish you all the best in your mission here. Hopefully, you can all realize your dreams and get what you expected. and wish this mission a great success.
那么到这里，我们观众朋友们对于这个
And
孟
with
土神庙
that,
还有关于我们这个历史上
You must have
首支来
known
到
a
埃及的
lot
中国
more
队
than you
应该
did
是
about
有了
Montu
很详
Temple
细的了解。
and
那么
our
我们今天
Chinese
这个直播
archaeological
新媒体直播
team.
也已经接近尾声。
And we
请我
will
们一起来继
we
续
are now
关
coming
注
to an
中国
end
考古队
of
在这片
today's
土地上
live
进行的
streaming.
工作和他们付出
We
的努
will
力。
still
或
do
许
a lot
在
of
不久
follow-up
将来
report
他们就会
of
回
their
馈
hard
给
work
我们
here.
非常
And
巨大的惊喜和意外。
hopefully in the
那么
future
我们
we
今天的
can
这个新媒体直播
have a
就
lot
到
of
这里。
pleasant surprise
观众朋友们，
brought
下次再
about
见。
by our team members. That's all for today's live streaming. Thank you for watching.